What's going on, Shiny Crew? I'm TheSilverSlasher, and earlier this year, my good friend Eryizo began a series in which he analyzes the Pokemon games and finds out which starter is statistically the best to choose. This got me thinking, I should totally gank that idea.
Wow.
Jokes aside, arguably the biggest deciding factor in which starter is the best is how it does against each gym leader.
That's true, but regardless of one of the types of your Pokemon, some gym leaders will obviously give you more trouble than others for where you are in the game.
Today, in the first episode of this series, we'll be taking a look at which Unova gym leader is statistically the most difficult in Pokemon Black and White. Keep in mind that this will not be taking into account things like excessive grinding, trades, and challenge mode. With that being said, however, roll the intro.
Let's take everything in order and start with the first gym from the original Black and White. It should go without saying that this is one of the easiest gym battles in the history of Pokemon.
Agreed. The leader may have the type that's good against your starter, but you could just take a few steps to the east and get a free Pokemon that's good against them. They come at level 10 and already have a stab move, so even with the level gap, your starter and the monkey should have zero difficulties pulling out a victory.
Next up is Lenora from Nacrene City. You may expect the normal type gym leader to be super easy, but there's really nothing you can do to combat her team effectively. On the routes prior, there are 0 fighting type Pokemon for you to encounter, and the only Pokemon you can catch to resist the types on her team is Roggenrola, who, let's face it, is not that good.
That's true, meaning that Pignite is really the only way to combat her, because even though Roggenrola does resist normal, both of her Pokemon have either Bite or even Crunch. Of course, you could spend the time to evolve into a Boldore, but since that doesn't happen until level 25, we'll consider that excessive grinding. And just as a reminder, that does not count.
All of this coupled with the fact that her ace Pokemon is rocking Retaliate, which is a 140 power stab move if one of her Pokemon was just defeated, makes the best strategy to honestly just bring a random encounter to sack off, so your stronger Pokemon doesn't immediately get KO'd. When that's your best strategy, you know you have a tough gym leader.
Next up is Berg, and while Leavanny is a pretty powerful Pokemon to have at this stage of the game that you're in, it's overall not that challenging of a fight. Obviously, if you've chosen Tepig, you'll have no problems with anything other than his Dwebble. However, on the route before Castelia City, you can pick yourself up a Tympole, which should already have Bubble Beam by the time you get to the gym. And even without that, Dwebble's special defense is so low that you probably don't even need type advantage.
Yup, and if you've chosen Oshawott and received a Pansear, you probably have the entire gym in check. Even without Pansear though, Leavanny is 4 times weak to flying, so a Tranquil, which you will likely have by now if you've caught a Pidove, will make quick work of it. The same goes for Snivy, who has Tranquil, Panpour, or Tympole to carry it through.
And one last thing to mention is that the route to the north of Castelia City is available before you challenge the gym, and has Wild Darumaka. Next up is Alessa.
You're weird.
I know.
Elisa is essentially the exact opposite of Berg in the sense that she has almost no tactics that are effective against her. To start, she has 2 Emolga, and the only thing you possibly could have obtained so far to counter it is a Roggenrola or a rock-throwing Timber or Girder. Only problem with that is that both of them know Aerial Ace, which is super effective against those two. And Rock Throw has mediocre accuracy, leaving Roggenrola, or Boulder if you trained it enough, the only option.
That's right. To be completely honest, the starters and Monkey are just mostly screwed in this gym. Every Pokemon she carries has type advantage over Servine, Duat, Simipour, and Simisage, while 2 of her Pokemon have the advantage over Pignite, so you're really going to have a bad time. Catching a Sandile in the previous route is an option, but the problem with that is that Sand Tomb is the strongest ground-type move it can get until level 31, and ground-type moves can't touch Emolga anyways.
The only way you can shut down her team is if you caught a Tympole back in Pinwheel Forest, which should be a Palpitoad by then, as it can be hit by electric-type moves and has Mudshot to completely wall her ace.
God, I never realized how much of a nightmare Alessa's team is. But now let's head across the Driftvale drawbridge to Clay's gym. It's easy. Moving on to the next. Okay, wait, maybe I should be a little more specific than that. Essentially, while Clay's team is very powerful, there's virtually no reason you should not be able to deal with his team. Simipour, Simisage, Palpitoad, Scraggy, Servine, Duat, Throw, Sock, Girder, none of them should really have a problem in this gym.
The only thing to really watch out for is the Palpitoad, but even then, a single hit from Servine or Simisage will more than likely knock it out. And even if you have neither, Ducklet was on the previous route and stalls this thing quite nicely. Anything that isn't weak to water or ground will most likely be okay.
Then we have Skyla. Overall, I wouldn't say Skyla is a challenging gym leader for one big reason. If you don't already have a rock type to clear the gym out, you can catch a Boldore in the cave literal steps away. Sure, if you do that it'll be a little underleveled for Skylar herself, but luckily for you, the entirety of Route 7 is available before you challenge the gym, and even has a breeder that you'll probably end up fighting multiple times from trips back to the Pokemon Center.
Or, to make it even easier than that, you can just catch a Zebstrika on that route. It'll already be a higher level than Boldore, and it won't struggle with the Swanna.
That's true, but if you don't have a good fire or fighting type yet, I would take the Boldore, since the next gym leader Bryson is weak to it also. Honestly, there's nothing to say about Bryson. The only thing that can really compete with Boldore is a steel move on his Vanillish, and if that somehow is enough to OHKO you, your Boldore has sturdy, so there's no problem.
God, I guess Wolfric was right. Ice-type gyms are total pushover. Anyways, last but not least, we have Drayden and Iris, who pack terrifying dragons. In all honesty, there's not a lot you can do to prepare for this gym. In terms of the Pokemon themselves, maybe if you caught an Axew back in Mistralton Cave between the 5th and 6th gyms, or maybe a Pharaoh Seed in Chartstone Cave, it's a real doozy.
Agreed. The only things I can really recommend are maybe using a Poniard to resist its moves, or maybe just a Boldore because of how high its defense is. Other than that, I mean, you just got the Frost Breath TM from Bryson, I guess, and you can spend 70,000 Pokédollars on the Blizzard TM in the Issaris City Mart, I guess. The problem with that, though, is every one of his Pokemon has Dragon Tail, which switches out your active Pokemon. So if your Mon with the resistance or super effective move gets switched out while they set up or get a free hit, it may be lights out. My lord, dragons were busted before Gen 6.
With all that being said, we've decided to narrow down the pick for most difficult gym leader to Elsa and the dragon users. Both of these gyms use strong, hard to counter Pokemon for where you are in the game and can wreck you if you're not ready. But which one actually gets the title of strongest gym leader in Unova? Drumroll please.
Big surprise, it's the dragon users.
Oh. That's pretty lame.
I know, right? I was really hoping that maybe another gym leader would technically be the most difficult and surprise you all, but nope. Dragons were so OP before Gen 6 that there's just so little you can do. But of course, that's only the first set of Gen 5 games. Care to tell them how this is going to work?
Sure. So basically, since Black and White 2 are quite different games, we're going to be making entirely separate videos for each set. So be sure to come back
in like a week or two
to find out who the most difficult gym leader in Black and White 2 is.
Until then, they can check out the video on your channel about who the best starter to choose for these games are, while of course waiting for
like a week or two,
when we will also talk about the same thing for Black 2 and White 2. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to slash that like button down below and let us know what you thought in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to both of us for more awesome Pokemon content. This has been TheSilverSlasher
and Eryizo,
and we'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.